Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritland. I'm John Ritland. This is more of the worst characters, gimmicks, and wrestling, and this is going to be about TNA, Impact Wrestling. I've already done 2 parts on WWE, 1 part on Impact Wrestling, and I believe 2 parts on WCW, or at least 1 part. The bottom line is that I've got a lot of these to do. A lot of people suggested stuff, so I'm actually going to get right into it. This will probably be no more than about 10, 11 minutes, so if I don't get to your suggestions, or if I go over them for a little bit and that's it, then, don't take offense to it. But anyway, at TNA Creative threw in a suggestion on Twitter. Great people to follow, by the way. Awesome people to follow. Awesome account, especially during Raw, SmackDown, Impact on Pop, and various WWE pay-per-views. And they do a lot of wrestling, old pay-per-view talks on Twitter, just making jokes and, some good commentary because they're actually respectful fans. Great people to follow, though. So anyway, Triton was there suggestioning, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot about him because I was during the Fox Sports Net day when the guy basically was a 7-foot version facially who reminded me of Sting, like a weird version of Sting. The guy had a good physique and, certainly had a good presence. I mean, it was hard not to because the guy was near or at 7 feet tall. No, and you can't teach that because it was way before that. But that guy was gone within a few months, and they hyped him up for weeks. Weeks. They used the old music from the NWA TNA first ever edition of DVDs where it was like the music and it had the music in there like he's coming, for the no, he's going to be this big arrival. And don't get me wrong, they hyped it up, but it was almost a glacier-like hyping because the guy went over like a fart in church. The guy wasn't the best worker, and I think he even had a WWE tryout, and it didn't really work. But yeah, the whole Triton gimmick, pretty damn shitty. Dr. Stevie was one of my suggestions, and I think TNA Creative may have suggested him too. I like Stevie Richards, and he certainly did the best he could with the gimmick, but it was not good. Not good at all. His feud with Abyss was weird, and then he went back to being Stevie Richards in 2010. Well, actually, I think by later 2009, he wasn't Dr. Stevie anymore. It was just really bizarre, and it was horrible segments that were written about, medicine that Abyss got from Dr. Stevie's secretary. Oh, by the way, Russo wrote this shit. Which doesn't surprise me as to why it didn't get over, because Russo should never have been allowed to actually show off his creativity without being able to, be restrained a little bit. That's why Jeff Jarrett, I never understood why Jeff Jarrett brought him in, but whatever. I know Jeff Jarrett at the time when he brought him in 06, back in 06, Jeff Jarrett was having problems as his late wife, his previous wife, Jill, almost like Karen. Jill died of cancer about a year after that. I know that Russo was brought in to take the workload off of Jeff, but it's just, God, Jeff Jarrett was such a better writer. And Russo, just, the whole Dr. Stevie character, Stevie Richards doing that, it wasn't that he was bad at it, it's just the writing was horrible. And the gimmick was never going to go anywhere. At JJF Tweets has a bunch of them that he sent in, or a few that he sent in, and then Black Fox with 2X's86 also sent some in. But first, JJF Tweets on Twitter, awesome guy to talk to, by the way, great guy. Despite what he may think of himself, no offense, but you're talking down to much yourself, stop talking down to much yourself, you're an awesome guy. We all have flaws, you're cool. So, Joker Sting. Yeah, I mean, it was like midlife crisis icon is what I called him. I enjoyed it for the silliness of it because clearly Sting was just... At that point, I think Sting snapped after he had turned down the offer with WWE in 2011, gone back and faced Jeff Hardy at Victory Road 2011. It was horrible. And I think from there, he just decided, I'm just going to have fun with this. And that's what he did. I mean, yeah, some of the Joker Sting stuff was ridiculous, but at least he was having fun. But yes, admittedly, it was not befitting of his iconic status and how good of a wrestler he actually was. Now, at that point, he was going more the comedy route, probably because his body was breaking down. But yeah, Joker Sting was pretty silly. And his GM run, it was weird. It was really weird. It's like nobody knew who the authority figure was. No one cared, honestly. But yeah, it was really bizarre. And Willow, and yeah, I got the shirt on for a reason. This is from the Impact Wrestling brown bag specials that I unboxed. I have 5 unboxing videos, by the way, because I got a lot of stuff, so I split them up among the videos. But yeah, I enjoyed those unboxing videos, and yeah, I got one of these shirts. It was really cheap, and Willow was silly. It was a gimmick that Jeff Hardy wanted to do, and it was shit. It was shit. They spent so much money on it and had so much weird production values, and it was why? I mean, why did this happen? He wasn't. Jeff cannot cut promos. He can't. I mean, even his broken stuff when he was Brother Nero was kept short and sweet. Matt was the better talker. Jeff was the better showman. But yeah, Willow was bad because it took a guy that was really over and just it. And it's not even on Impact Wrestling or whoever, whatever company he was part of. It was just really bad because it went somewhere and then went nowhere and then went backwards and suddenly Jeff's back to mean Jeff. It's just bad. Aces and eights, and any faction that has Wes Briscoe in it is doomed to fail. And no, I don't like Wes Briscoe. I don't hate the guy himself. I just think he's a lousy wrestler. I think he makes David Flair and Eric Watts seem great by comparison as far as any second generation, third generation talents in the ring. But Aces and Eights, I mean, when your biggest star was Bully Ray, and Bully did the best job he could as a heel there. It was great stuff, great heel work that he did. Him and Devon, because they were part of Aces and Eights, and even though Bully feuded with Aces and Eights, you could call right away when Devon was revealed. It's like, oh, Bully's going to be revealed as the leader. May take months, but he'll be revealed. And he was. Big shock. Garrett Bischoff, I pushed to the side, because at least he tried. Yeah, I'm not saying he should have wrestled, but at least he tried. And then they had something going with Gallows, who was Doc, and then he was let out of his his contract expired, and they didn't bring him back. They didn't re-sign him. Same with Nux. Oh, it was still better than the Menagerie, which, oh god, that was a horrible gimmick. Yeah, Aces and Eights is just really, 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 really shit. I mean, just absolute shit. And in fact, I'm going to stop with JJF Tweet stuff for a second to talk about the Menagerie. Rebel looks really good. And I give credit to the talents for trying, but for all those production values and all that stuff and all the money they spent, the Menagerie was absolute dog shit. They hyped it for weeks, and my god, it went over worse than a fart in church. It went over like elephant shit under the big top. It was really, really bad. The Menagerie was crap. It did give us Crazy Steve, who ended up going into being, crazier evil clown Steve in the Decay, so that was something good that came out of it. And it gave us Rebel, who looks pretty good and at least tries to wrestle, but no, the Menagerie gimmick was absolute shit. Back to JJF Tweets. Super Eric. I like Eric. Eric Young could pick any gimmick and generally make it good. At least, because he's so passionate about what he does and puts such a great emphasis on entertaining. And he's a really, really damn good wrestler. I mean, he hits a great top rope elbow drop, whether it's from the top rope or top of a cage, like he did with Ty Dillinger on NXT. But yeah, the Super Eric thing where he was all scared and then he would don the superhero costume and they would have this pyro and he would no longer be scared of his pyro like he was in 06 and 07. I don't know. I mean, it's like, and then they went the whole Daniel Bryan route with him and had him win 2 matches and win the title, and that was bad. It was just bad timing by Impact. But anyway, Super Eric, it was silly. I think him and Kaz were teaming up, if I remember right, which Kaz's are so much better in TNA Impact Wrestling. Could have been, at least should have been given a run with, their marquee championship. Same with Daniels. I mean, even if you just gave them to him for a few weeks, they were giving the title to everybody. I mean, why the hell didn't they just give it to Daniels for a few months? I mean, Daniels, especially in 09, I think deserved a chance. But Super Eric, bad gimmick. Just bad. No matter how great Eric Young was, and he was great. And Orlando Jordan was, I believe, JJF Tweets, if you did not suggest that, I suggested it. So forgive me. It's probably a mixture here, because I think you and I have talked about this gimmick before. Orlando Jordan, I mean, I discussed it. Was just weird. It was just weird. It was just really, really weird to see the guy is open about his sexuality. He seemed to have a different gimmick and all that stuff. And his feud with Rob Terry was really weird. But it was just bad. It was just really bad, and all the money that they spent on it, and treating him like a big star when the guy was one of the worst U.S. champions of all time. And part of that's booking. The guy's a good wrestler. Did well in Spain and Italy, Spain especially. And he had Ultimate Warrior's last wrestling match. That was shit. But that's because Warrior, I don't care about speaking ill of the dead here, because I'm talking about him as a worker. Ultimate Warrior was a horrible worker. And Orlando Jordan did the best he could. But yeah, still, TNA run, Impact Wrestling run, not great. And at Black Fox 86 on YouTube, send in some great stuff for WWE and WCW. Thank you very much. Mexican America, it did give us Rosita, who is now Thea Trinidad. I believe that's how you say her name. She's in NXT now. Sarita and Rosita were pretty good. And, I mean, Hernandez is a good worker. Anarchia, less so. I mean, not that the Mexican America stable was just bad. It was just bad because it was like a version of LAX, only worse. And it was not around very long to really make any kind of impact, and not pun intended. Hypno Angelina Love, did not care for it. I mean, it was the best acting Angelina Love ever did because she really can't act or cut a promo for anything, at least on Impact. I mean, I'm sure on the indies and everything she does fine. I'm not a big Angelina Love fan. I don't hate her. I'm just not a big fan of her. Hypno Angelina, the only reason that this gave a good, that it was good to have her on TV is because they got to have Winter, Katie Lee, and I absolutely adore Katie Lee. I think she's beautiful. I think she deserved a better chance in WWE. Hopefully she gets another chance. I thought she did fine in Impact Wrestling, but not great. But yeah, Hypno Angelina was weird because we all knew where it was going. It was just odd that, like, this woman's hypnotizing her. But anyway, enough of that. In Rock and Raven faction, you had Christy Hemme helming the team of Jimmy Rave and Lance Rock, who was Lance Hoyt. At least I think he was called Lance Rock. That team kind of goes in, it kind of falls by the wayside in my head. But Jimmy Raven, I thought Jimmy Raven Lance actually did pretty well as a team. I mean, they weren't given much of a chance to succeed, but they did pretty well. It was a pretty good, mesh of tall, athletic, big man and smaller cruiserweight guy. And Hemme. I mean, Hemme looked good back then. I mean, it still looks good now, but it worked a bit. But I can definitely see why it is not remembered fondly, because it was short-lived and they really didn't win a lot of matches. They really, really didn't. So that's the worst gimmicks characters in Impact Wrestling TNA. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And like, share, comment, and subscribe. My Twitter link is in the description. At TNA Creative, at JJF Tweets, and at Black Fox with 2X's 86. Thank you very much for making your suggestions. Leave in the comments if you have any more stuff. Watch my first part, watch this part, and if you can think of any more and I'm talking from Impact Wrestling, TNA back in the very beginning, all the way to now. Think of any of the worst gimmicks, you let me know, and I'll get to them. Anyway, see you folks. Bye.